Prologue, 0 signature, 8:25 p.m. EST USN special report breaking tonight. A no-bid modernization contract has been awarded to EDC Logistics for the consolidation of federal pediatric data systems. The White House says the agreement saves lives by streamlining access. Civil libertarians call it a black window with no curtains. Vice President Yi, in remarks earlier, praised the speed of execution. Our sources, the Chiron, choose the words like glass. A scrolling ticker stutters, then corrects itself. On a second screen, smaller, muted, closed captions lag by half a beat, a thin delay no one notices unless they are already listening for it. Cut to the panel, 3 experts in split-screen porcelain smiles under studio lights. The moderator presses, but critics say this Phase 1 initiative risks unprecedented surveillance of children's medical and biometric records. President Yancey's administration insists it's voluntary. The feed switches abruptly to archive footage. President Yancey stands alone at the White House podium 2 days prior. No notes, no teleprompter visible. Cream suit sharp as a blade, posture unyielding. She fixes the camera with eyes that seem to see through lenses, through screens, through the viewer themselves. Voluntary does not mean optional for the future, she says, voice low, measured, carrying the weight of command without raising a decibel. We are building a system that protects the most vulnerable before harm occurs, not after. Data transparency is not invasion, it is prevention. And let me be clear, those who question this work will be heard. Those who obstruct it will be answered. A beat, no smile, no softening. Just the quiet certainty of someone who has already won the argument before it began. The room behind her press corps, aides, Secret Service, holds utterly still. No coughs, no rustles. She commands silence as naturally as breathing. The clip ends, the panel returns, voices subdued, deference etched in their postures. Even the sharpest critic on screen pauses, nods once, as if acknowledging an unspoken verdict. 8:25 p.m. N. Cent and W. Washington, D.C. A car hums to a stop beside a townhouse whose brick has the tired dignity of a judge. Rain polishes the curb into a mirror. A courier steps out wearing the kind of uniform that exists to be forgotten, slate jacket, no emblem in the usual places, just a small triangle stitched inside the cuff. He lifts a package from the passenger seat and pauses as if scenting the weather. The night has that copper tang city storms draw up from old pipes and old wounds. He rings no bell. He does not knock. The door opens itself on a whisper of fabric as if the house were adjusting its clothes in private. Inside, cream walls, a soft rug, a console table with a porcelain dish for keys. A camera above the door blinks red to remind everyone that red means it is seeing. Across from the console, a framed photograph reflects the entry in a shallow pool of glass. The courier's reflection arrives first, a fraction early. The man follows, a fraction late. In the frame, the corridor beyond the foyer seems longer than the corridor is. He sets the package down with the reverence of someone placing a folded flag upon a widow's knees. On the hallway table is a note card, heavy stock, waxy to the fingers. It does not belong to this house. The courier sees the beveled initials, Ed, stamped in the corner, and has the involuntary sensation that his thumbprint will sink into it and never come back. He does not touch the card. He lifts his hand to the camera and holds it there, palm bare. No gloves, no latex squeak. A beat passes, then another. The camera keeps its little red eye open, patient as a nurse. 0 signature, he says softly, to the room or to the camera or to the person on the other end. The microphones catch less than a whisper and more than a thought. From the living room, a TV gives the faintest hiss of news. A crawl, Phase 1, Health Data Transparency Initiative. A panel of experts with porcelain smiles. The courier half turns toward the sound, and in the glass of the hall photograph, the silhouette of a second figure tilts its head as though curious. The courier does not tilt his. He freezes, then forces a blink. When he looks again, the second head is gone, leaving only his own outline tidied by the frame. He steps back over the threshold. The door closes without hands. The rain outside intensifies into a sheet, and the car's reflection in the curb water becomes a long black blade. The courier's phone chirps in that high frequency only the anxious really hear, a thin wire strummed tight. He doesn't answer. He drives. In his rear view, the townhouse windows are squares of polished night, in one for a breath. A crouched shape is visible at ankle height, like a child playing hide-and-seek but forgetting to breathe. Rain wipes the window and the shape fades. Josva Alden, representative for Florida's 25th, is still in the basement office he pretends is a study when he wants to seem humble and a secure room when he wants to seem important. Both are true enough. The screen before him is paused on a frame from an hour ago, the live feed from the entry camera. The image is crisp, the world it records is not. He advances the footage. The courier appears and disappears like a magician executing a trick everyone paid to be fooled by. The audio catches a small friction sound, latex on plastic. but the sound itself is absent, not in the footage, not in the room. He rubs his thumb along his jaw and tastes penny metal, an old childhood taste with no safe origin. He unpauses. The frame stutters. In the reflection from the photograph, a head tilts, a neck bends, a spine loosens. In the hallway, the man is standing still. Josva widens the shot, zooms, rewinds, exhales. The same fraction of a fraction in the same place. If it were a human in the glass, that human is half a beat ahead and impossibly patient about it. From the TV upstairs, a commentator says, and Vice President Yi's office insists the program is strictly opt-in. The word opt echoes in Josva's mouth like ought, like oath, like owned. He rolls his chair away from the desk, and the casters make that small, clean squeal, soft latex against slick plastic, that he will not remember later and will never be able to stop hearing. He climbs the stairs into the muted telemetry of his own house. The thready hum of the refrigerator, the slow breathing of the HVAC, the wounded animal whine of an appliance whose belt is misaligned by a tooth. Beneath it all, there is another sound, faint as a secret moving under a door. On the console waits the package. It is not large. Large things don't get into lives, small things do. The cardboard is brand new but feels preserved as if it had lived in a dry, temperature-stable room that never allowed human air. The insert inside is velvet. The velvet is stained. The stain has that rusted halo things acquire when time remembers them against their will. He does not open it yet. He listens. There, the barely audible whisper under the house noise, not language, not weather, more like the after voice of something already said in another room. He places 2 fingers on the lid, and the skin at the base of his neck blooms cold, not a draft but a pinpoint, the way a doctor presses a gloved finger somewhere you didn't know you had nerves. He withdraws his hand, not because he is afraid, but because he prefers his fear to think it gave the order. The note card is the kind of waxy that makes paper feel like bone. Beneath the EDC monogram, there is a single line in block print for verification. He flips the card, blank. He brings it closer to the light. A watermark swims up slow, a child's handprint, too small, too long-fingered, oily at the edges like glass that never quite dries. He is sure he imagines the smell. He is not sure. Okay, he says to the empty house, to the reflection waiting politely behind him, to the part of him that prefers to watch instead of act. Okay. He breaks the seal, no tear. The lid opens with the sound of fabric whispering past a body that isn't there. Inside, a pen, black, heavy, with EDC etched in letters so shallow you could cut yourself trying to feel them. Beneath the pen, a thin stack of photographs, printed on stock too slick to belong to a newspaper and too dull to belong to a glossy. The top image, a room of glass. On the inside of each panel, small handprints bloom like lilies pressed flat. In the lower left, a timestamp, 0918. In the lower right, a code that means nothing unless you need it to mean something. He does not flip to the second photo. He stares at the first until his eyes water and the glass blurs and the prints look wet again. When he finally looks away, the hallway photograph returns him to himself. And the man in the frame looks older by a year, which is reasonable, because a year is exactly how long some moments last. Upstairs, the anchor's voice brightens, and Vice President Yi clarified that the contract's phase 1 is complete. The words slide over the floor like oil until they disappear under the baseboards where old words sleep. His phone buzzes. Naomi glows on the screen. The urge to answer is physical, a muscle memory like flinching. He does not press accept. The voicemail icon will be better than her voice because he can put it off and pretend that is power. The whisper under the house noise gains a syllable. It might be nothing. It might be 2 words. It might be the kind of message you only hear if you've already signed for it. You volunteered. The words cut deep. He realizes now it was not about a single choice that night, but every policy he had signed, every clause he had waved through without reading. He closes the box without letting his hand leave the pen. The metal is warm the way copper gets warm when you don't want it to. He slips the pen into his breast pocket and feels instantly that he has done what the box wanted him to do. He places the photographs back where they were without ever having turned them, which is another kind of turning. Downstairs, the feed keeps looping. In one window, the courier stands at the threshold. In the reflection, a crouched shape waits, measuring a distance not in feet but in beats. When the courier lifts his hand to the camera, the reflected figure's fingers, smaller, smudged, press the glass from the other side. The print is there and not there. The timestamp is steady in the corner, 2025, 8:25 p.m. Numbers like prayers are only as true as the person saying them. Josva kills the TV. The room swallows the talk and burps up quiet. The refrigerator keeps humming, so does the whisper. He considers calling Naomi back and doesn't. He considers walking away and doesn't. He considers telling himself a story, that this is just a package, a political favor, a game of proximity and deniability in a town that worships both. He picks up the waxy card again and holds it under the lamp, angling for meaning. The watermark deepens. For a second long enough to pass lie detector thresholds, he sees another image shimmer through the paper, A cage of mirrors and a boy with his palm pressed flat, burning the glass with the heat of being looked at. He sets the card down. Out on the street, a drone's rotor hum blends with the rain until they become a single weather. The house collects sounds and stores them the way mouths store secrets behind teeth. "Zero signature," he says to the empty foyer, repeating the courier's phrase without knowing it. "Zero signature," the house says back, though it might only be the air moving past itself. In the basement, the paused frame of the feed holds a man and his reflection. One is precise, official, belonging to cameras and committees. The other moves half a beat ahead and is already gone. Later, they will tell him that everything started with the package. That is the kind of lie nobody can resist, a neat origin story with a stamp and a time. But the truth, which does not require a signature, is simpler and worse. By the time the box crossed his threshold, Phase 1 had been complete for years. He just hadn't opened it yet. And in the dim kitchen light that now filters down the stairs, the package seems to exhale a faint blue glow, subtle, almost imperceptible, like breath from something sealed inside. Chapter 1, Foundations of Ambition. Josva Alden learned early that the truth could be dangerous. As a boy growing up in the quiet suburbs of Dovington, he often sensed that appearances mattered more than reality. Family and upbringing, Josva was the middle child of 3, raised in a household that prized discipline, loyalty, and a pristine reputation above all else. His father, a stern yet caring high school principal, would say, "Your name is your honor. Never give anyone a reason to stain it." His mother, ever the diplomat, taught him the art of politeness and subtle charm. Between an industrious older brother and a spirited younger sister, Josva found himself honing skills of negotiation and peacemaking at the dinner table long before he knew he'd use them in politics. Early school years. In grade school, Josva was the bright kid with an easy smile, the one teachers trusted to lead the class in the pledge or help resolve playground disputes. He had a way with words even at 8 years old, carefully measured, never too much or too little. On the playground, he learned how not to brag too loudly about a good grade, his father's voice echoing in his head, never outshine others who might feel small. Yet, he understood how to stand out just enough to be elected class representative by 5th grade. Friends and personality. Josva's friends gravitated toward his quiet confidence. He was competitive but fair, charismatic but not overbearing. On group projects, he often took charge, but cleverly made it seem like each person's contribution was vital. Even then, he was practicing an instinct for leadership, making others feel included while subtly guiding the outcome. By middle school, the principal's son had a carefully crafted image. He was well-liked but never too complacent. He knew how quickly favor could turn. Once a close friend spread a nasty rumor out of jealousy when Josva won the student council presidency. The betrayal stung deeply. Josva confronted him privately instead of publicly shaming him, extracting an apology without a scene. He learned then to be wary of even his friends' intentions. Lesson learned, a childhood lesson in trust. Those closest to you can hurt you most. It was better to keep certain ambitions and vulnerabilities to himself. He began to master the skill of concealing his true intentions, sharing just enough of his plans to satisfy curiosity, but never the whole picture of his aspirations. His affable exterior became a smoke screen for a fierce drive growing inside. High school ambition. During his teens, that drive flourished. Josva excelled academically, honor society, debate team captain, valedictorian, and balanced it with genuine charm. Teachers praised his leadership. Classmates voted him most likely to succeed. He volunteered on weekends, building a shining resume for college applications. Yet behind the diligent student and courteous son was a young man already crafting a path to power. In quiet moments, Josva devoured books on great leaders and strategists. He found himself drawn to biographies of presidents, CEOs, even cunning historical figures. A highlighted passage in one of his father's old books stuck with him. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Guard it with your life. Josva took that to heart, protecting image. He became hyper-aware of his image, avoiding the typical teenage scandals. No underage drinking in public, no foolish social media posts. He carefully curated any online presence. If a party got too wild, Josva was the one slipping out early, never wanting a compromising photo floating around. He guided friends out of trouble, too, earning him a reputation as the responsible one. That reputation was carefully guarded, perhaps too carefully. By senior year, the pressure to be perfect weighed on him. There were nights he'd lay awake staring at the ceiling, anxious that one mistake could undo everything. That anxiety wasn't unfounded. In the summer before college, it arrived. The night was warm, the kind of sticky July heat that made asphalt shimmer. Josva was 18, driving his father's old black sedan back from a bonfire party on the edge of Silver Lake. Damon, his closest friend since elementary school, was in the passenger seat, laughing too loud, still buzzing from cheap beer. The road was narrow, unlit, flanked by pine and darkness. The bike appeared suddenly, headlight off, rider in dark clothes, cutting across the lane without warning. Josva swerved too late. The impact was soft and terrible. A thud against the bumper, a body tumbling across the hood, then rolling into the ditch. The car fishtailed, tires screaming, before Josva slammed the brakes. Silence. Then Damon's panicked whisper, "Jesus Christ, is he?" Josva killed the engine. They stumbled out. The boy, Tommy Alvarez, though Josva wouldn't know the name until the next day's paper, was crumpled on his side, blood pooling under his head, bike frame twisted 20 feet away. He was breathing, shallow and ragged. No helmet, no lights. Josva's mind raced through every law he'd already internalized without knowing their names. Never outshine the master, but there was no master here, only consequences. Guard your reputation, the one thing his father had drilled into him above all else. A hit-and-run charge, manslaughter if the kid died. College gone, future gone, everything gone. Damon was already pulling out his phone. "We have to call." No. Josva's voice was flat, final. He crouched beside Tommy, checked for pulse, still there, then stood. "He's breathing, someone will find him, we weren't here." Damon stared. "You're serious?" Josva met his eyes. "If we stay, we're finished. Both of us. Walk away now," and it never happened. They drove off. No sirens followed. No witnesses. Tommy survived. Coma for 3 weeks. No memory of the crash or the car. Josva read every article in secret. Sent anonymous cash to the family through a church fund for years after. Guilt became fuel. He channeled it into discipline, into the careful construction of the man he would become. College, law school, city council, state legislature, Congress. Each step polished, each alliance calculated. He married Naomi, brilliant, steady, the perfect political partner. Damon stayed close, strategist and confidant, the only one who knew the full truth of that night. Josva never spoke of it again. Conceal your intentions. The secret was buried so deep it felt like part of his skeleton. Now, 27 years later, the past had mailed itself to his doorstep. The package sat in the locked drawer of his study, contents photographed and encrypted on a burner drive hidden behind a false panel in the basement. The rusted grille shard matched his old car's make and model. The photo, grainy, time-stamped the night of the crash, showed 18-year-old Josva kneeling over Tommy's body, headlights casting long shadows. The card, "I know your secret," no sender, no prints, no digital trail. Josva had spent the last 2 weeks watching every reflection, tasting copper every time he swallowed, listening for the whisper that had started the night the courier left. He told no one. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Revealing it even to Damon would shift power. He needed to know who held the leverage first. That morning, Tuesday, he woke before dawn. Naomi still slept beside him, breathing even. He slipped downstairs, opened the drawer, checked the contents. Unchanged. He closed it, locked it, double-checked the alarm codes. By 7 a.m., he was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, reviewing the day's schedule. A briefing on the pediatric data bill, lunch with donors, evening call with President Yancey's chief of staff. Routine. Control, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single photo attachment. Him standing in the Greenridge Public School hallway 2 weeks from now, future date stamped in the corner. Behind him in the reflection of the trophy case glass, a small handprint pressed from the inside. The message below soon. Josva deleted it instantly. His hand shook only once, then steadied. He would find out who sent it. He would neutralize it. Reputation intact. But as he set the phone down, the kitchen window reflected his face perfectly, except the reflection blinked half a beat after he did. And in the lower corner of the glass, faint as condensation, a child's palm print appeared, fingers splayed, then dragged slowly downward until it vanished. The copper taste flooded his mouth again. He swallowed it. The day was beginning, and something was already measuring the distance between what he showed the world and what waited inside the glass. End of Chapter 1.
Chapter 2, the BOX speaks. The kitchen clock ticked past 7:15 a.m. Josva stood at the island, coffee cooling untouched, staring at the deleted photo still burned behind his eyelids. Himself in a hallway he hadn't yet walked, a future handprint already waiting on glass. He had scrubbed the message from his phone, wiped the cache, restarted the device. No trace, but the copper taste lingered like blood on the tongue. Naomi came down the stairs in yoga pants and an old Georgetown sweatshirt, hair in a loose knot. She moved with the easy grace of someone who had never needed to calculate every step. She poured coffee, glanced at him over the rim. "You're up early again," she said, not a question, an observation. Couldn't sleep. He forced a half smile. "Campaign brain." She set her mug down, stepped closer. "Campaign brain doesn't make you jump when the fridge cycles on." Her fingers brushed his wrist, light, familiar. "Talk to me, Josva, you've been somewhere else for weeks." He met her eyes, warm brown, steady, the same eyes that had looked at him across a crowded law school library 15 years ago and decided he was worth the risk. He could tell her now. Lay the package on the counter, show her the photo, the grill shard, the card. Let her share the weight. Law 4, always say less than necessary. Instead, he leaned in, kissed her temple. Just the usual DC, pressure. President Yonsei's team wants another briefing on the data bill before the vote. I'm fine. She studied him a moment longer. You're a terrible liar to the one person who knows all your tells. But she let it drop for now. She picked up her mug, headed toward the living room. I'm running errands later. Need anything? Peace of mind, he muttered under his breath after she left the room. Alone again, he pulled out his phone. No new messages. Good. He opened his calendar instead. 9:00 a.m. Briefing with staff. 11:30 donor lunch. 3:00 p.m. strategy call with Damon. Routine armor. He needed to test the water before diving in. By 9:15 he was in the congressional office suite, sleeves rolled, tie loosened just enough to look approachable. Leela Voss was already at the conference table, briefing binders open, tablet glowing. She looked up when he entered, smile quick and bright. Morning, Congressman, coffee's fresh. I pulled the latest CBO scoring on the Pediatric Transparency Amendment. Looks like we can push for stronger opt-out language without losing the moderates. Josva nodded, took the seat across from her. Good, let's run the talking points. They worked through the script. Leela was sharp, quick to spot weak phrasing, quicker to suggest fixes that sounded like his own voice. Halfway through she paused, tapped her pen against the table. You seem distracted today, sir. Everything okay at home? He met her gaze, the air between them shifted, subtle, charged. She leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table, blouse dipping just enough to remind him she was 28 and ambitious in every direction. Law 6, court attention at all costs, but only when it serves. I'm fine, Leela, just thinking through the vote. He let his voice drop lower. You've been invaluable on this one, I don't say that enough. Her cheeks flushed faintly. I'm happy to help, whatever you need. The door opened, an intern stuck his head in. Congressman Alden, Mr. Reyes is here early. Damon. Josva stood. Give us the room, Leela, we'll pick this up after lunch. She gathered her things slowly, brushing past him on the way out, shoulder grazing his arm, deliberate. I'll be ready when you are, she said softly. The door clicked shut. Damon Reyes stepped in, closing it behind him with a soft thud. Tall, lean, dark suit, impeccable as always. They had known each other since Dovington Elementary, brothers in everything but blood. Damon had been in the passenger seat that night on Silver Lake Road. He had never spoken of it since. Loyalty like that was rare, dangerous. Early bird, Josva said, gesturing to the chair. Coffee? Black. Damon sat, eyes scanning the room out of habit. You look like hell. What's going on? Josva poured 2 cups, handed one over. He stayed standing. Law 2, never put too much trust in friends, even the oldest ones. Hypothetical, Josva began. Someone sends you something, no return address, no fingerprints, something that ties back to an old decision, one you both remember. Damon's expression didn't change. How old? 27 years. A long silence. Damon set the coffee down untouched. And this hypothetical package contains evidence, physical, timestamped, and a message, 3 words. Damon exhaled through his nose. I know your secret. Josva's pulse kicked. He hadn't said the words aloud yet. Hearing them from Damon's mouth felt like a blade sliding between ribs. You've seen it, Damon said quietly, not a question. Josva pulled the burner phone from his inside pocket, unlocked it, slid it across the table. The photos, grill shard. The kneeling shot, the card. Damon scrolled through them slowly, face unreadable. Delivered 2 weeks ago, Josva said. No breach on the security feed. Courier said 0 signature. House accepted it like it belonged there. Damon zoomed in on the photo of 18-year-old Josva over Tommy's body. This was taken from the driver's side. Someone was already there watching, or waiting. Damon handed the phone back. You didn't tell Naomi. Not yet. Good. Keep it that way. Damon leaned forward. Who else knows? No one until now. Damon studied him. You're testing me. I'm protecting us both. Josva sat finally. If this is someone from back then, Tommy's family, a witness, a cop who pieced it together. Tommy has no memory, Damon cut in. Hospital records say traumatic amnesia, clean slate. Then someone else dug it up. Josva tapped the phone, and they're not asking for money. They're asking for verification. Damon's eyes narrowed. Like the EDC thing, phase 1, Josva nodded once. The timing's too perfect. No bid contract drops, package arrives same night, pediatric data consolidation, old trauma files get pulled first, Tommy's was among them. Damon rubbed his jaw. You think the system flagged your anonymous payments, the church fund, or worse, they have the hospital intake photo, blood type, DNA. If they cross-reference, they already know it was you. Damon finished the thought, and they want you to sign something, admit it, make it official. The room felt smaller, the air conditioning hissed like distant breathing. Josva leaned in. I need you to run quiet channels, old contacts, see if anyone's been asking about Silver Lake 1998, discreetly. Damon nodded. I can do that, but Josva, if this is institutional. Not personal, then we're already in the system. Josva's voice was flat, and signing might be the only way to control the narrative. Damon stood. Don't do anything yet, give me 48 hours. Josva rose too. Damon paused at the door. If you find something, tell me first, no filtering. Damon met his eyes, always have. The door closed, Josva exhaled, alone again. He opened the drawer in his desk, not the home one, the office safe. Inside, the original package items, still sealed in evidence bags he'd bought at a hardware store at 2 a.m. last week. He lifted the waxy card. The watermark had changed. The child's handprint was still there, oily, elongated. But now a second print overlapped it, adult, larger, the exact ridges and whorls of Josva's right thumb. He stared until his vision blurred. From the hallway outside, Leela's voice drifted in, laughing with the intern, light and easy. Josva locked the drawer. His phone buzzed. Naomi, lunch at 1, miss your face. He typed back, wouldn't miss it. Then he opened his secure line to Damon again, one word, hurry. In the window behind his desk, his reflection stared back, perfectly synced for once, until it tilted its head just slightly as if listening to something Josva couldn't yet hear. The copper taste returned stronger, and beneath the office hum, printers, phones, distant footsteps came the faintest syllable. Verify? End of Chapter 2, Chapter 3. The cage of glass. Josva Alden had learned early that power was not seized in loud gestures, but in the quiet calibration of what others saw and what they did not. Law 5. So much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. He repeated the phrase like a mantra while the town car glided through D.C. morning traffic toward Greenridge Public School. President Yancey had personally requested his presence for the photo op, a ribbon cutting for the new transparency wing, a gleaming addition to the elementary library stocked with tablets linked to the federal pediatric data pilot. EDC Logistics logos were everywhere, subtle triangles etched into door handles, watermarked on welcome banners. Josva noted them without reaction. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. Let no one see the tremor in his hands or the copper aftertaste that had lingered since the package arrived 2 weeks earlier. The first package still sat locked in his study drawer. The rusted grill fragment from his 1998 sedan, the grainy photo of 18-year-old him kneeling over Tommy Alvarez's broken body on that rain-slick road, the card stamped, I know your secret. He had photographed every item on a burner phone, then triple encrypted the files. No one knew, not Naomi, not Damon, not even the night security detail. Revealing it now would crack the facade he had spent decades polishing. Law 1. Never outshine the master, and President Yancey was watching closer than ever since he began positioning for the presidential run. A scandal, even a whispered one, would make him radioactive. The school gymnasium smelled of fresh paint and cafeteria pizza. Children lined up in neat rows waving miniature flags. President Yancey arrived flanked by Secret Service, cream silk suit sharp as a verdict. She didn't smile immediately, she assessed. When she spoke to the principal, her voice carried without effort. This wing isn't decoration, it's infrastructure. Every child's record secure, accessible only when it saves a life. Questions? The principal stammered. None, Madam President, were honored. She nodded once. Room held its breath until she turned to Josva. Congressman Alden, walk with me. They moved down the hallway, cameras trailing. Josva matched her stride, respectful distance, no crowding. She spoke low for him alone. The data bill, your amendment on opt-out clauses, it's elegant, keeps the moderates happy without gutting the core, but elegance isn't enough. I need ironclad support on the floor, no surprises. None, Madam President, Josva replied smoothly. My vote is yours and my whip count is solid. She stopped at the trophy case, floor-ceiling glass, awards gleaming behind it. Good, because hesitation looks like weakness, and weakness invites opportunists. Her eyes met his reflection in the glass. We don't tolerate that here. Josva's reflection stared back, neat suit, easy politician's eyes. Then the glass fogged at child height. A small handprint bloomed from the inside, fingers splayed. Dragged downward in greasy streaks as if someone sealed behind the pane had tried to claw free. Fresh. Impossible. The print vanished when he blinked, leaving only his own wide-eyed face. President Yancey hadn't flinched. She simply tilted her head. You all right, Congressman? You look like you've seen a ghost. Lighting trick, he managed. Or fatigue. She studied him a beat longer. Fatigue is forgivable, distraction is not. Then she turned to the waiting press, voice rising effortlessly. Let's show America what transparency looks like. The ribbon cut, applause. Josva smiled for the cameras, knelt for photos with kids, let small hands tug his sleeve. Inside, his pulse hammered half a beat off. In the staff restroom afterward, Josva splashed water on his face. The mirror waited. His reflection lagged half a beat late, then smiled when he did not. Behind it, faint but unmistakable, a second silhouette, small, crouched. Palm raised as if testing the glass from the other side. Josva spun, empty stall. When he looked back, only himself, older, hollower. He exited to find Leela Voss waiting outside. She handed him a water bottle, fingers brushing his longer than necessary. You look tense on stage, sir. Everything okay? Her eyes held his a second too long, professional concern laced with something hungrier. Josva felt the old pull. Law 6, court attention at all costs, but only when it served. He smiled faintly, let his hand linger on hers, returning the bottle. Just the usual DC ghost, Leela. You've been a rock on this bill. I don't say that lightly. She stepped closer. I'm glad. If there's anything else I can do personally. The invitation hung soft and electric. He broke it first. Appreciate it, but today I need focus. He walked away, feeling her gaze on his back. Back in the car, Josva reviewed security footage on his tablet, discreet, encrypted. The hallway camera showed nothing unusual. But at 09:18 exactly, the timestamp burned into his memory from the package photos, a frame glitched. The trophy case reflection showed him smiling while in real time he had frozen. The lag was deliberate, mocking. He arrived home after dusk. Naomi was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, chopping vegetables with precise strokes. She looked up. Rough day. He kissed her cheek. The usual. President Yancey was commanding as always. Naomi laughed softly. She always is. I saw the clips. You looked good up there. Thanks. He poured wine, handed her a glass. How was your day? Productive, but you, she set the knife down. You're pale and you've been distant. If it's the bill or the run, talk to me. Law 4, always say less than necessary. It's nothing you need to worry about. Just strategy. She searched his face. I worry because I love you and because I know when you're hiding something. He kissed her forehead. "I love you too, promise it's handled." She let it go, but her eyes said she wasn't convinced. Joseph retreated to the study. The drawer was still locked. He sat in the dark, the EDC pen heavy in his pocket, warm as if recently held. The house hummed, HVAC breath, refrigerator thread, and beneath it, the whisper that had started the night of delivery. Not words, not yet, just a syllable repeated like code, a soft knock. Leela Voss, unexpected, unannounced. "Sorry to intrude, Congressman. I have the briefing notes for tomorrow's hearing on pediatric data privacy." She stepped inside, closing the door. The room felt smaller. She placed the folder on his desk, leaned in, close enough he smelled citrus and ambition. "You seem distracted today. If there's anything I can't help with." Joseph stood, creating distance. "Appreciated, Leela, but tonight I need solitude." She lingered, "Of course, but if you change your mind," she left with a quiet "good night, sir." Alone, Joseph finally opened the drawer. The items were unchanged, grill shard, photo card, but atop them lay something new, a single Polaroid, fresh printed. Him in the school hallway that morning, frozen before the trophy case. Behind him in the reflection, the small crouch-shaped palm pressed to glass. Timestamp 0918, no courier, no breach alert. The house had accepted it. The whisper under the house noise gained shape, 2 words, faint as breath on neck, verify soon. Joseph slammed the drawer. His reflection in the window lagged, then nodded once as if agreeing. He would tell no one, not yet, but the cage was tightening, and something inside the glass was already measuring him for a place. End of Chapter 3.
Chapter 4, The Watcher moves. Joseph's town car pulled into the driveway just after 10 p.m., rain sheeting off the windshield like static on an old monitor. He sat in the back seat for a full minute after the driver killed the engine, staring at the house, every window dark except the study where he had left a single lamp burning. The blue glow from the package, faint, almost imagined, still clung to the edges of his memory like phosphor burn. He stepped out, collar up. And the porch light flickered once. Not a power surge, something else. Inside, the house smelled of rain and something older, waxed paper, copper, the dry rot scent of secrets left too long in drawers. Naomi was already upstairs. He could hear the faint creak of floorboards as she moved through their bedroom. Good, she would stay in the dark a little longer. Law 3, conceal your intentions. One leak and the entire structure collapsed. He went straight to the study, locked the door, and opened the drawer. The Polaroid from Greenridge was still there, him frozen before the trophy case, the small crouched shape behind him in the glass. But now a second item lay on top, a folded square of the same slick, dull stock as the original photographs. He unfolded it with 2 fingers. It was a still frame from the school's security feed, timestamp 0918 exactly. The angle was impossible, taken from inside the trophy case, looking out. Joseph stood in the hallway smiling for cameras while, on this side of the glass, the child silhouette pressed its palm flat against the pane, fingers dragging downward. In the lower corner, faint blue light bled around the edges of the print, the same ethereal glow that had seeped from the package the night it arrived. Joseph's breath caught. He had never sent that footage to anyone. No one had access. The whisper under the house noise gained 2 clear words. Spoken so close to his ear he felt warm breath that wasn't there. Verify now. He slammed the drawer shut. His phone buzzed. Damn, basement door now. Joseph descended the narrow stairs to the secure room he called his study when he wanted to seem humble and a panic room when he wanted to seem important. Damon was already inside, rain still beating on his coat, a black duffel at his feet. "You said 48 hours, Joseph said, closing the door. "I lied." Damon dropped the duffel, unzipped it. Inside, printed hospital records, old police reports, a single flash drive. Tommy's file wasn't just pulled, it was flagged the day the EDC contract was signed. Someone inside the system cross-referenced your anonymous church donations with the original intake blood work. They have the match, they've had it for weeks. Joseph stared at the papers. "How did you get this?" "Old contact at HHS. Cost me a favor I didn't want to spend." Damon's eyes were hard, but that's not the worst part. "The courier who delivered your package found dead this morning. Single car accident on the Beltway, no witnesses, car burned clean, 0 signature." Joseph felt the copper taste flood his mouth. "They're cleaning house or sending a message." Damon leaned on the desk. "This isn't blackmail, Joseph, this is recruitment. They want you to sign the EDC pen biometric lock, full admission. Once you do, your file goes live. Your secret becomes leverage they own forever. Phase 1 isn't coming, it's already cataloged you." Joseph sat slowly. Law 2 never put too much trust in friends. Even Damon could be compromised. "You're sure it's institutional?" "Positive. The blue glow on the new photo, same spectral signature as the EDC data packets. They're not hiding anymore." A soft knock upstairs, Naomi's footsteps on the main floor. Joseph held up a hand. They waited until the footsteps retreated. Damon lowered his voice. "What do you want me to do?" Joseph weighed the laws. Law 5, guard your reputation. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Run deeper, find who inside EDC has access to the pediatric trauma queue. Quietly, no trails back to us. And if they push for the signature. Joseph's hand closed around the EDC pen in his pocket. It was warm again, almost hot. "I buy time, 1 week, then we decide." Damon studied him. "You're playing this too close, Joseph. If Naomi finds out, she won't." Joseph stood. "Not yet." They shook hands, firm old ritual. Damon left through the basement exit. Joseph stayed behind, staring at the flash drive. His phone buzzed again. "Leela, can't stop thinking about today. If you need to talk or anything else, I'm up late." The message carried heat. Joseph stared at it. The pull was real, release, distraction, control, law 6, court attention at all costs. But Leela was a variable he couldn't afford right now. He typed back, appreciate it, rain check. He deleted the thread. Upstairs he found Naomi in the kitchen pouring tea. She turned, eyes searching his face. You were downstairs a long time. Strategy call with Damon. The data bill is heating up. She handed him a mug. President Yancey called the House line earlier. She wants you at the White House tomorrow for private briefing. Said it's non-negotiable. Joseph's stomach tightened. Did she say why? No, just that Vice President you would be there too. Naomi stepped closer, touched his arm. Joseph, whatever's going on, you're scaring me. You look like you're waiting for something to jump out of the walls. He set the mug down. Pulled her into his arms. I'm handling it, I promise. She rested her head on his chest. I believe you, but I also know when you're lying to protect me. He held her tighter, feeling the lie settle in his bones. Later, alone in the bathroom, he brushed his teeth. The mirror fogged at the edges. He wiped it clear. His reflection stared back half a beat late. Then a child's hand rose from behind the glass, pressed flat against the inside. Fingers splayed exactly like the photos. The palm was small, pale, and the blue glow around it pulsed once, slow and deliberate. The child mouthed words Joseph could read clearly. You left him, we never leave you. Joseph stumbled back. The hand dragged downward, leaving a greasy streak that stayed on the outside of the mirror this time, real, warm to the touch when he reached out. When he blinked, the streak was gone. Only his own terrified face remained. His phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. A single audio file. He played it. A boy's voice, young, calm, unmistakably Tommy Alvarez at age 18, spoke through the speaker. Joseph, sign it. Make us both transparent or the next package won't be for you. The file ended. Down the hall, Naomi called softly. Everything okay in there? Joseph deleted the file, flushed the toilet for cover. Fine, be right out. He stared at the mirror. The reflection smiled when he did not. And in the lower corner, faint blue light began to gather again, forming the outline of a small hand waiting. End of Chapter 4, Chapter 5. Verification. Joseph Alden's town car rolled through the White House gates at 9:42 a.m., rain still clinging to the windows like fingerprints that refused to wipe clean. He adjusted his tie in the reflection of the bulletproof glass, noting how his own image lagged half a beat long enough to make his stomach tighten. Law 5, so much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. Today that meant walking into the most powerful room in the world looking like the man everyone expected, calm, capable, unshakable. No trace of the copper taste that had become his constant companion. The driver opened the door. Good luck, sir. Joseph stepped out into the colonnade, umbrella offered by a Marine. Thank you, I'll need the car ready in 90 minutes. Inside the West Wing, the air felt thinner, charged. An aide led him past portraits of past presidents, each one watching with painted eyes that seemed a fraction too attentive. Leela Voss was already waiting outside the Roosevelt room, tablet in hand, heels clicking as she fell into step beside him. Briefing packet updated, she said, voice low and efficient, but her eyes lingered. President Yancey wants the opt-out language tightened, and Vice President Yi is sitting in unusual for a working session. Joseph took the folder, their fingers brushing. The contact lingered a second longer than professional. Leela's perfume, citrus and something sharper, cut through the hallway scent of polished wood and power. You read my mind, he said quietly. Stay close today. I may need you to run interference if things get detailed. Her smile curved, knowing. I'm always close when you need me, Congressman. Just say the word. He met her gaze. The tension between them was a live wire, controlled, useful, dangerous, Law 6, court attention at all costs. Leela was ambitious, discreet, and currently the only variable that felt entirely under his influence. He let the moment stretch, then broke it with a nod. After the briefing, my office. She flushed faintly, pleased, and stepped back as the doors opened. President Yancey stood at the head of the long table, cream suit impeccable, posture like a blade balanced on its edge. Vice President Yi sat to her right, notepad open, face neutral but eyes sharp. 3 senior staffers completed the circle. No one spoke until President Yancey gestured for Joseph to sit. Congressman Alden, she said, voice carrying quiet authority that silenced the room without effort. Thank you for clearing your schedule. We have 40 minutes. Let's use them well. Joseph took his seat, spine straight. Madam President, Vice President Yi, I'm here to deliver. President Yancey didn't smile. She rarely did in these rooms. Instead, she fixed him with that gaze that had once made a roomful of senators fall silent mid-sentence. Good, because the pediatric data bill is no longer a bill, it is infrastructure. Phase 1 is already live in 3 pilot states. Children's trauma records, biometric baselines. Predictive risk models all consolidated under EDC. The American people will thank us when the first life is saved before the ambulance even rolls. But I need your floor leadership ironclad. No amendments that water it down, no hesitation. Vice President, you lean forward, and no leaks, Congressman. The opposition is circling. We cannot afford another black window headline. Joseph nodded, measured. Understood, Madam President. My team has the votes. The opt-out language is cosmetic. It satisfies civil libertarians without changing outcomes. I'll deliver the speech myself on the floor. Personal stake in child safety. President Yancey studied him a beat longer than comfortable. Personal stake, interesting choice of words. She slid a single sheet across the table. This is the final language. Sign off on it now. Joseph reached for his pen, the ordinary one in his jacket. His fingers closed around the EDC pen instead. It had somehow migrated from his pocket to the table, warm, waiting. He froze. The room lights flickered once, blue at the edges. In the polished surface of the conference table, his reflection appeared half a beat late, then a small hand rose beside it, palm pressed flat from beneath the wood, fingers dragging upward as if trying to break through from the other side. Josva blinked hard, the hand vanished, the reflection synced. President Yancey's voice cut through. "Problem, Congressman?" "No, Madam President." He picked up his own pen, signed the sheet with a steady hand, locked in. She took the page, scanned it, then looked up. Good, because hesitation costs lives, and in this building, hesitation costs careers. She stood, signaling the meeting was over. The staffers rose instantly. "We'll speak again after the vote, privately." As they filed out, Vice President Yi paused beside Josva. "President Yancey doesn't repeat herself. Don't make her." Alone in the hallway with Leela, Josva exhaled. She touched his arm lightly. "You were flawless in there, but you went pale when she asked for the signature. Everything all right?" He turned to her, close enough to feel the heat between them. "Just the weight of it all. Walk with me to the car." They moved down the corridor. Leela's voice dropped. "If you need to decompress, my apartment is 10 minutes from here." No staff, no cameras. The offer was clear, electric. Josva felt the pull, release, control, a momentary escape from the cage tightening around him. Law 6. He let his hand brush hers. "Tempting very, but today I can't disappear." She smiled, disappointed but not deterred. Rain checked then. Soon his phone buzzed as they reached the colonnade. "Damn, and basement now. New development." Josva sent Leela ahead to the car. "Handle the press pool for me." 5 minutes. He doubled back through a side entrance, descended to the secure basement room he kept for emergencies. Damon was waiting, door locked, face ashen. "The courier's not the only one," Damon said without preamble. "Leela's roommate, low-level HHS analyst who helped me pull Tommy's file yesterday, was found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. Note on her laptop. Couldn't live with what I saw." Josva's blood ran cold. Their erasing threat. "Worse." Damon slid a tablet across the table. "Security feed from your study last night. Watch 2:47 a.m. The footage rolled." Josva saw himself open the drawer, examine the new Polaroid, then the frame glitched. A small silhouette no taller than a 10-year-old rose from the floor at ankle height, placed a fresh waxy card inside, and retreated. The drawer closed itself. Blue glow pulsed once around the edges. Damon's voice was tight. "That's not a person, Josva. The system is delivering evidence in real time. No human courier needed anymore." Josva stared at the screen. "They're inside the house, inside the glass." Damon leaned in. "The new card is in your drawer right now. I checked the feed before I came. It says, verification window closes at 09:18 tomorrow. Sign or we complete the collection." Josva's hand went to the EDC pen in his pocket. It burned. His phone buzzed again. "Naomi, home for dinner. I made your favorite, miss you." He typed back, "Wouldn't miss it," then deleted the thread. Damon watched him. "You're still keeping her in the dark." "For now." Josva stood. "Buy me 24 hours. Find the node inside EDC who's running the trauma queue. I'll handle the signature pressure." Damon nodded, but his eyes were worried. "This isn't politics anymore, Josva. This is something else." Josva left the room, climbed the stairs, and stepped back into the rain. The car waited. Leela sat in the back, legs crossed, smiling. "Everything okay?" she asked as he slid in beside her. He closed the door. "Better now." She leaned closer. "Good, because I hate seeing you tense." The car pulled away. Josva felt her knee brush his. The tension crackled, real human, the only thing that still felt under his control. His phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. A single photo attachment. Him. Sitting in this exact car, Leela beside him, timestamp 30 seconds in the future. Behind them in the rear window glass, dozens of small handprints pressed from the outside, fingers dragging downward, blue glow pulsing around each one. The message, "Tick-tock, Congressman." Josva deleted it instantly, heart slamming. Leela noticed nothing. "You're smiling. What's on your mind?" He turned to her, voice low. "You right now." She laughed softly, leaned in. But in the rearview mirror, his reflection smiled half a beat after he did, and behind it, the glass was already blooming with handprints that weren't there yet. The verification window was closing, and the collection had already begun. End of chapter 5.
The Willard Intercontinental Ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers like a cage of diamonds. 500 of the most powerful people in Washington moved through the room in carefully choreographed orbits. Donors in $10,000 gowns, senators laughing too loudly, tech executives pretending they weren't terrified of the next data bill. A soft launch fundraiser for the future of ethical leadership. Everyone knew what it really was. Josva Alden's unofficial presidential coming-out party. Josva stood at the edge of the stage in his midnight blue tuxedo, the EDC pen burning like a coal in his inside pocket. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. He smiled the exact smile that had carried him from Dovington to this room, warm enough to disarm, sharp enough to remind them he was dangerous. President Yance entered at 8:47 p.m. exactly. The entire ballroom seemed to inhale. She wore deep crimson silk that caught the light like fresh blood, posture ramrod straight. No one dared speak above a whisper until she reached the head table. Vice President Yi trailed 2 steps behind, ever the loyal shadow. President Yance didn't wave. She simply lifted one hand, and the room fell silent, as if she had flipped a switch. "Tonight is not about politics," she said, voice carrying to the back wall, without a microphone. "It is about legacy." about protecting the most vulnerable before they become statistics. Congressman Alden understands that. He has walked with me through fire on this. Tonight, I ask you to walk with him. The applause was thunderous, genuine. President Yance turned, locked eyes with Josva across the room, and gave the smallest nod, approval and warning in the same gesture. Then she stepped aside. Josva took the stage. The teleprompter glass was pristine. He began his speech exactly as rehearsed, voice-rich, measured, presidential. President Yance has shown us what real courage looks like. She doesn't just talk about protecting children. She builds systems that make protection automatic. Phase 1 is already saving lives. And with your support, I will finish what she started. Halfway through the third paragraph, the teleprompter glass fogged at child height. Small handprints bloomed from the inside, dozens of them, oily fingers dragging downward in perfect unison, visible to every soul in the ballroom for 3 full seconds before vanishing. The audience gasped, then laughed nervously. Someone whispered, "Clever projection." Josva's voice never faltered. Law 1, never outshine the master. He smiled wider. Even the glass wants to be part of the solution tonight. Laughter rippled. President Yance's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed a fraction, calculating. He finished to a standing ovation. President Yance rose first, clapping slowly. Deliberately did I end the green room afterward. Josva locked the bathroom door. His hands shook as he gripped the marble sink. The mirror waited. His reflection appeared half a beat late. Then the child stepped out from behind it. Solid now, not silhouette. 10 years old, pale skin, eyes that were unmistakably Tommy Alvarez's at that age. The boy raised his small hand and pressed it flat against the inside of the glass. The surface rippled like water. The boy's voice came through clear, young and ancient. "You left me bleeding on that road, Josva. But I never left you. I've been waiting inside every piece of glass you've ever looked into." Sighing, "Make us both transparent, or the collection grows." Josva dropped to his knees. The EDC pen fell from his pocket and rolled across the tile, glowing faint blue at the edges. The boy smiled with Tommy's mouth. "Tick-tock. 9:18 tomorrow. Or I start collecting the ones you love." The mirror cleared. Only Josva remained, breathing hard on the cold floor. A soft knock. Lila's voice outside. "Congressman, President Yance wants a word in private." Josva stood, splashed water on his face, straightened his tie. When he opened the door, Lila stepped inside, closed it behind her. "You were incredible out there," she whispered. Her hands found his lapels. "But you're shaking. Let me help you forget for 5 minutes." She kissed him, hungry, urgent, years of restrained tension exploding. Josva kissed her back for 3 heartbeats, tasting power and escape and danger all at once. Her body pressed against his, warm and alive in a way nothing in the glass ever was. He broke the kiss, breathing hard. "Not here. Not now." Lila's eyes were dark with want. "Soon." "Soon," he lied. She slipped out. Josva stared at the mirror. His reflection smiled when he did not. He rejoined the ballroom. President Yance was waiting by the bar, Vice President Yi at her side. "Beautiful speech," President Yance said, voice low enough only he could hear. "But for a moment on that stage, you looked like a man who had already lost something. Fix it, before I have to." Vice President Yi added quietly, "The system doesn't tolerate loose ends, Congressman. Verify or be verified." Josva nodded once. "Understood, Madam President." He left the Willard at 10:12 p.m. Naomi was waiting at home, lights on in the kitchen. She turned as he entered. "You were brilliant tonight. I watched the live stream, but you look like you've seen a ghost." He kissed her cheek, chaste, practiced. Long night. President Yance was intense. Naomi searched his eyes. "Josva, whatever this is, it's bigger than the campaign. I can feel it in the walls of this house. Talk to me. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. It's handled. I promise." She let it drop, but her hand lingered on his arm longer than usual. Later, alone in the study, Josva opened the drawer. The new waxy card waited on top. "Verification required by 9:18 tomorrow." Sign or the collection begins with those closest to you. Beneath the words, the watermark had changed again. The child's handprint now overlapped with 3 adult prints. His, Damon's, and Naomi's. The blue glow pulsed once, slow and deliberate. From every reflective surface in the room, windows, mirror, the glass on the framed photo of Naomi. The same small hand rose and pressed flat from the inside. Hundreds of them. The boy's voice whispered through every pane at once, soft and intimate. 0 signature, accepted, or we start tonight. Josva's hand closed around the EDC pen. Upstairs, Naomi called down softly. Coming to bed? He stared at the pen. The handprints dragged downward in perfect unison. And somewhere in the federal pediatric data stream, a file labeled Alden. Josva began to glow blue, waiting for the final keystroke that would make him part of the collection forever.
Chapter 7. The Truth in the Glass. Josva Alden stepped through his front door at 11:07 p.m., the Willard's applause still ringing in his ears like distant breaking glass. The house was quiet except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the soft clink of a wine glass from the kitchen. Naomi stood at the island in silk pajamas, hair down, pouring 2 glasses of the Cabernet she saved for nights when she needed courage. "You're home," she said without turning. Her voice was calm, but the set of her shoulders told him everything. "I watched the whole speech. President Yancey looked pleased. The donors loved you, but I saw the moment the teleprompter changed." Josva hung his coat, buying seconds. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Even now, with the EDC pen scalding his chest and the memory of Leela's kiss still warm on his lips, he calculated how much truth he could afford. "Lighting effect," he said, crossing to her. "Some new tech they are testing for the transparency campaign. Impressive, right?" Naomi turned, her eyes, those steady, knowing eyes that had seen through every polished answer for 15 years, locked on his. "Don't." She set the bottle down hard enough that the glasses trembled. "I found the drawer unlocked this morning. I saw the photos, the grill shard, the card that says I know your secret, and the new one that just appeared with my fingerprint on it. Josva, what the hell is happening in our house?" The copper taste flooded his mouth so violently he had to swallow twice. The package had been locked, triple-checked, yet she had opened it, the system had let her. He stepped closer, voice low. "Naomi, listen to me." "No." She held up a hand, but it shook. "You've been lying to my face for weeks. Distant, jumpy, coming home smelling like another woman's perfume. I ignored it because I love you and because I thought the campaign was eating you alive. But this," she gestured toward the study, "this is bigger than us. Tell me everything, right now, or I walk out that door and I don't come back until you're ready to be my husband again instead of whatever version of Josva Alden is running for president." Law 4, always say less than necessary, but the laws had limits when the glass itself was listening. He took her hands. They were ice cold. "Sit down." They sat at the kitchen table. Josva spoke for 20 unbroken minutes. Silver Lake Road, the thud against the bumper, Tommy Alvarez bleeding in the ditch, the decision to drive away, the years of anonymous atonement, the first package, the impossible photos that kept appearing inside locked drawers, the handprints from the inside of every mirror, the whispers, the blue glow, the courier and Leela's roommate both dead within days. He left out only Leela's kiss. Some fractures could wait. When he finished, Naomi sat perfectly still. Tears tracked down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them. "You left a boy to die," she whispered, "and you've been carrying that alone for 27 years. I was 18, terrified. You were a coward." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "And now this system, whatever phase one really is, it's using your guilt like a leash. And you were going to let it drag us both under without telling me." Josva reached for her. She pulled back. "I was protecting you," he said, voice rough. "Law 5, guard your reputation." Even with her, the instinct remained. If they can put handprints on the inside of glass, what else can they do? I needed time to neutralize it. "Neutralize it?" Naomi laughed once bitter. "Josva, look around. The house is already full of them." She stood and walked to the hallway mirror. Josva followed. In the glass, their reflections appeared normally at first. Then the lag hit half a beat. Behind them, dozens of small handprints bloomed from the inside, pressing outward, fingers dragging down the pane in perfect synchronization. The blue glow pulsed around each one like breath. Naomi's reflection spoke when her real mouth did not. "You volunteered." The real Naomi staggered back. That wasn't me. Josva pulled her away from the mirror. I know, it's the system. It's using the data, our voices, our faces, everything we've ever signed for. His phone buzzed on the counter. A known number. He answered on speaker so Naomi could hear. A boy's voice, Tommy's voice at age 10, spoke calmly. Verification window is now. Sign the card in the study, Congressman, or the next print will be on your wife's throat while she sleeps. The line went dead. Naomi's face drained of color. They can reach us. Right now. In our own house. Josva's mind raced through every law. Law 2, never put too much trust in friends, but Damon was already compromised by proximity. Law 1, never outshine the master. President Yonsei had warned him tonight. He was out of moves. He walked to the study, Naomi following. The waxy card lay on the desk exactly where the system wanted it. The EDC pen rested beside it, glowing soft blue. Naomi grabbed his arm. Don't. If you sign, you give them everything. Your guilt becomes their weapon forever. If I don't, they start the collection with you. His voice broke for the first time in decades. I can't lose you, not because of something I did when I was 18. Tears streamed down her face. Then we run, we burn every copy, we go public. President Yonsei respects strength. She might even protect us if we expose this. Josva almost laughed. President Yonsei built this system. Vice President Yi praised the speed of execution. They're not going to protect us, they're going to use us. He picked up the pen. It was hotter than body temperature. Naomi stepped in front of him. Then sign it with me watching. No more secrets. If we're going down, we go down together. The house lights dimmed. Every window, every picture frame, every glass surface in the room lit up at once with hundreds of small handprints pressed from the inside. The blue glow brightened until the entire study looked submerged underwater. The boy's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Zero signature. Now. Josva looked at Naomi. She nodded once, terrified but resolute. He pressed the pen to the card. The ink flowed, his signature, biometric, irrevocable. The moment the final letter completed, every handprint dragged downward in unison. The blue glow flared so bright it blinded them for 3 full seconds. When it faded, the prints were gone. But Naomi's reflection in the nearest window remained half a beat behind. And in the lower corner of the glass, a new handprint appeared, adult-sized, feminine, pressed from the inside, Naomi's own. She touched her throat, eyes wide. Josva, I feel it, something just moved inside me. His phone buzzed, a single text from an unknown number. Welcome to the collection, Congressman. Phase 2 begins at dawn. President Yonsei sends her regards. In the hallway, the front door camera blinked red, then blue. And somewhere deep in the federal pediatric data stream, 2 new files glowed bright and permanent. Alden, Josva verified Alden. Naomi collection initiated. Josva dropped the pen. It rolled across the desk and stopped beside the original child's handprint card. The house was no longer theirs, and the system had just added 2 more voices to its growing choir. End of chapter 7.